Hello, my name is Reverend Dr. May Elise Cannon. Today is Saturday, it's September 13th, 2025, 708 days of war and violence and atrocities. In the last 24 hours, at least 47 people in Gaza were killed, including 12 children. The Israeli Defense Forces have continued to urge residents of Gaza City to evacuate, despite unclear instructions. Some who evacuated, as I shared yesterday during the update, went to some of the humanitarian zones. And so the conditions were so horrific that they decided to travel back to the north, to Gaza City, where there are regular attacks, that they would rather go through bombing and shelters, seeking to avoid the Israeli military than stay in those residential humanitarian zones. The Israeli Defense Forces spokesperson for the Arab media said that over 250,000 Gaza City residents have left, and they have urged others to evacuate to those designated humanitarian zones. An ex-IDF chief has confirmed that the Gaza casualties are over 200,000. Now, casualties, according to the official military definition, does not necessarily mean death. It means death and injury. This is retired General Herzi Halevi. He was the IDF chief of staff prior to the current person in that role. He said not once had legal advice constrained Israel's military decisions in the Gaza Strip. A former Army commander, Herzi Halevi, confirmed more than 200,000 Palestinians have been killed or injured during the war in Gaza, and not once in the conflict were military operations inhibited by legal advice. He stepped down as chief of staff in March after leading the Israeli Defense Forces for the first 17 months of the war. This is now almost the second anniversary since the October 7th attacks. The current official toll in terms of those killed is 64,718 in Gaza, an additional 163,859 injured. Many thousands more are feared dead, and it's believed that their bodies are buried, not yet found, underneath the rubble. At least 40 people were reported killed on Friday in Israeli strikes, mostly around Gaza City. The IDF said that it struck a high-rise in Gaza City used by Hamas for military purposes. They said it was a Hamas terrorist organization center. The IDF has made this claim abundantly. Certainly, Hamas does have headquarters, and some of the places they've attacked, I'm certain, are Hamas facilities, but they often claim that regardless, and there's no substantiation of their claims. According to the IDF, Hamas established military infrastructure used to advance and execute terrorist attacks against IDF troops in the area. Local reports alternative realities about warnings created to the strikes. So according to the statement, they say that steps are taken in order to mitigate harm to civilians, including warnings to the population, the use of precise munitions, aerial surveillance, and additional intelligence. And local reports provide alternative perspectives in that regard. In the occupied West Bank, masked Israeli settlers set fire to buildings in the Bedouin village of Jabba. This is in the West Bank. Police said the incident is under investigation. This is the second week in a row that settlers have set fire to buildings in Jabba, this Bedouin community. It's east of Ramallah and northeast of occupied East Jerusalem. Oscar-winning Palestinian Basel Adra says that his home in the West Bank has been raided by Israeli soldiers. They conducted a raid at his West Bank home. They were looking for him and going through his wife's phone. Israeli settlers attacked his village on Saturday, injuring two of his brothers and one cousin. He accompanied them to the hospital, and while he was there, he heard from his family in the village that 9 soldiers had stormed his home. The soldiers asked his wife, Suha, for his whereabouts. They went through her phone. His 9-month daughter was located at the home at the time. They briefly detained one of his uncles. As of Saturday night, Adra said he could not return to the village. He could not get back home in order to check on his family because soldiers were blocking the entrance to the village, and he was afraid of being detained. Israeli military said soldiers were in the village because Palestinians were throwing rocks that injured 2 Israeli civilians. It said that its forces were still in the village, searching the area and questioning people. Adra has spent his career as a journalist and a filmmaker, chronicling settler violence in Masafer Yatta, which is in the South Hebron Hills, where he was born. After settlers attacked his co-director, Hamdan Bilal, in March, he told Associated Press he felt they were being targeted more intensely since they won the Oscar. He described the incidents on Sunday as horrific. Even if you are just filming the settlers, the army comes, it chases you, it searches your house. The whole system is built to attack us, to terrify us, to make us scared. Another co-director, Yuval Abraham, said he was terrified for Basel. What happened today in his village, we've seen this dynamic again and again, where Israeli settlers brutally attack a Palestinian village as the army comes, and then the Palestinians are attacked. No Other Land is the Oscar film that won Best Documentary. It depicts the struggle of residents in Masafer Yatta and an attempt to stop the Israeli military from demolishing villages in that area in the South Hebron Hills. In the West Bank, a 21-year-old Palestinian died of wounds from settler gunfire on Friday. The West Bank Health Ministry reported that a 21-year-old Palestinian died of wounds from settler gunfire yesterday on Friday. They announced that Mohammed Isa Ahmad Alawi, 21 years old, died of his wounds after he was critically wounded by settlers' gunfire on Friday in the town of Jarir. According to the announcement, Alawi was evacuated to a hospital in Ramallah. He was pronounced dead. The Israeli Defense Forces sealed off a home of militants who shot and killed people at that Jerusalem attack last week. These were the homes of Matana Amro and Mohammed Taha. Those are believed to be the militants who carried out that fatal attack in Jerusalem on Monday, in which 6 people were murdered. The Shin Bet Security Services said that the two are residents of villages of Kabiba and Katana near Ramallah. In Israel, additional suspects were detained over a bin fire in Jerusalem that torched a car. Israeli authorities said they arrested a Herzliya resident. Herzliya is on the Mediterranean coast. The man was in his 60s, and it was in connection with arson during protest for hostages' release last week. Protesters in Jerusalem burned garbage bins. This led to a car catching on fire. The Shin Bet was involved in the investigation. 2 men in their 60s and 80s were arrested on suspicion of arson. Elizabeth Surkov, the Russian-Israeli woman who was held captive in Iraq for more than 2 years, was highlighting that yesterday was the Berman's birthday. She was referring to the 2 twin hostages, Gali and Ziv Berman, who are believed to still be held in Gaza. She spoke to Prime Minister Netanyahu after her release and said that she was tortured when she was in captivity in Iraq. While she was speaking to Netanyahu, she highlighted the plight of hostages that are still held in Gaza. She reminded him of the twins, Gali and Ziv Berman, who had recently celebrated their birthday. She said birthdays in captivity are the most difficult of days. Hundreds of protesters blocked the entrance to the Likud event at Petah Tikva. And during the protests, members of Likud, including the member of the Knesset Gottlieb of the Likud party, walked past protesters while they were yelling, "Where is your humanity?" Protesters said that Netanyahu's supporters sprayed pepper spray and threw eggs. During the protests, police brought in reinforcements. Multiple key Likud lawmakers were seen entering the event, although they were heavily surrounded by security. Hundreds have protested about the Gaza humanitarian crisis in Tel Aviv because of the mass casualties of civilians in Gaza, as Israelis nationwide headed to demonstrations calling for both a hostage deal and ceasefire agreements. Peacemakers in Israel are asking, why aren't there any women on the hostage negotiation team? Dr. Yael Braudo Bahat, co-director of Women Wage Peace, says that if women from both sides, Israeli and Palestinian, were included in negotiations, almost certainly things would be in a better place. In Lebanon, the IDF said that they struck a Hezbollah operative in the south of Lebanon in Atarun. And in terms of the international community, the UN General Assembly endorsed a 2-state proposal to end the war in Gaza on Friday. Universities around the world should cut their ties with Israeli academia over the Gaza war, so said several educational bodies from Europe and South America who are boycotting Israeli institutions, though Universities UK does not support the action. In response, a growing number of academic bodies are distancing themselves from Israeli institutions, some saying that they are complicit. While not all taking action in a general academic boycott, the movement reflects concerns over links with Israel between academia, the military, and the government. In the US, Rubio has been very outspoken. He said that Trump was not happy with the strike on Qatar, but that US-Israeli relationship is still strong. He said it's not going to change the nature of our relationship with the Israelis. He also said Hamas cannot continue to exist if peace in the region is the goal. So Rubio said Hamas cannot exist. This was just prior to Rubio is scheduled to take a trip soon to the Middle East. So that is an update of the last 24 hours. May God go before us. Continue to pray for the Church of the Crossroads event that's happening in the Chicago area, where hundreds have gathered. There'll be news coming from that very soon. May God go before us in our continued efforts towards peace. Amen.